Although Halloween Forever has been available on other platforms like PC, PS4, and the Vita for quite a while now, there's just something inherently wrong not seeing an 8-bit style game on a Nintendo console. But thanks to publisher Chuhai Labs, that has been remedied as the game is seeing release right now on the Nintendo Switch. But is it worth your time and money? It absolutely is, and we're here to tell you why. Danny from the Famicast. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Today, we're taking a look at Halloween Forever on the Nintendo Switch in this review. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the game, Halloween Forever is a 2D action platformer that puts players in control of Pumpkin Man. Now, armed with the ability to jump and spit candy corn at enemies, it's your job to take our hero through a handful of spooky areas and see why in the world this undead sorcerer is looking to cause some mischief. Now, right off the bat, you'll notice that the game is kind of like a love letter to these classic spooky pixel-based side-scrollers, with just like a fresh coat of HD paint on those pixels. Now, gameplay here is pretty simple, but extremely tight. Now, Pumpkin Man has two basic functions that he can perform, like I mentioned earlier, jumping and spitting projectiles, in this case, candy corn. Now, aside from being able to double jump right off the bat, there really isn't much more to the controls here, and I personally found that very inviting. Pretty much anyone that's ever played a 2D action game will feel right at home here. Now, in a very old school-like manner, you're going to have 3 lives starting out to clear the entire story. Now, there's also this heart gauge on the upper left-hand side of the screen, and as you can see, you start out with 5 hearts. Obviously, if you take too much damage, you're going to lose a life. If you fall into a spike-laced pit, also, you're going to die no matter how many hearts you have. Now, game over will take you back to the title screen. Now, even if you aren't super skilled or run into some trouble, health pickups in the shape of hearts are scattered throughout the stages and are sometimes dropped by defeated enemies. Now, speaking of enemies, there are actually quite a few enemy types that you're going to encounter here. You're going to run into snakes, chainsaw-wielding maniacs, sorcerers, skeleton knights, flying Medusa heads, bats, and more. Now, the basic enemies themselves aren't necessarily difficult, but there are definitely times when you're going to need to keep your distance or watch your step. Now, the bosses and mini-bosses on offer here are big, chunky pixel art that are well-designed, and they have their own attack patterns that you'll need to learn in order to take them down. Again, it's not super difficult or anything, but trying to find a balance between what's happening on the screen and how fast your reflexes are, that's actually the key to success here. Now, I'm no expert on this or anything, but I think the hitboxes here are super tight, at least for the most part, and so that makes it so you can have some extremely close jumps and still avoid hits and stuff, which can come in handy against the bosses. Now, if you're finding yourself having trouble with the game, Halloween Forever does offer some very helpful options. Now, before you start your run, you can turn on one or both of these options to help. Friendly Continues or 99 Lives. Well, I think 99 Lives is pretty self-explanatory, but Friendly Continues, basically it lets you start closer to where you left off after dying. Now, some of the more hardcore fans out there might scoff at the use of this, but hey, there's actually an option for them as well, a 1 HP mode. Now, for me, I think accessibility in games, especially games that appeal to older gamers looking for something new with a classic feel, I think something like this is super important. Now, while some of you guys out there might not be as spry as what you used to be when it comes to gaming acumen or something like that, I think trying to appeal to a wider audience with options like this is just smart, and it's just a way to basically have more people be able to experience your game and maybe even finish it. In terms of visuals, Halloween Forever is a pretty great looking game. Now, the simple colors and the simple pixels graphically really pop, and the game just runs smoothly throughout the whole experience. Now, the environments here are also pretty varied, and they provide plenty of detail. And it really does feel like I'm playing a game that was unearthed from the Famicom or NES days here too. Now, the music here is also fantastic, and it's likely going to stick with you well after you put down the controller. Now, when it comes to the game's length, Halloween Forever can be rushed through in an hour or two or something like that. And I can see people taking this as a knock against the game, which I guess is fair. However, I think there are a couple things that you need to think about, or at least to realize before making that assumption about this. So there are multiple characters to unlock and play. Now, all of which have their own different quirks, and some of them have different projectiles and all that type of stuff too. There are also runes and secret areas and stuff like that to track down on all these levels. So overall, I think that this game doesn't overstay its welcome, but at the same time, I think it gives you enough reason to come back to it if you want to, or you can just put it down after playing through it once. It's kind of just up to you. Halloween Forever's a stellar game with tight controls, sharp visuals, and some awesome chiptune music. Now, while the game may be a little on the short side, unlockables can keep you coming back to dip in for some fun from time to time. Now, if you're itching for a retro-inspired platformer on the Switch, this is definitely something that you'll need to pick up. As always, thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you see, please feel free to drop us a like. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. We've got tons of podcasts, video reviews, special videos, and a whole lot more. Again, this is Danny from the Famicast. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.